Hello and welcome to the panel discussion today, followed by Dr. Faisal Nawaz's excellent 15, 20 minutes talk. We have all the panelists, including myself. We have Dr. Faisal, Dr. Zara Arshad, Dr. Faisal Nawaz, and myself, and Dr. Kashyap. So welcome to all of you guys who are here today. This is an interactive session. You're supposed to ask any simple or complicated question to us. I'm sure we can answer all those 4 questions. If we can, if all of us can answer it, if we cannot, we'll refer them to Raktan and he will be able to answer those for you in this regard. So do you mind introducing yourself very quickly?
Yes, thank you so much. Hello, everyone. My name is H. Faisal. I am an IMG from India. I am better known as Seto Speaks on Twitter. Apart from my academic writing, I'm very much interested in medical history, and I am an aspiring neurosurgeon scientist. Thank you. Over to Zara.
Thank you, Dr. Kashyap, for the mic and the floor. My name is Dr. Zara Arshad. I'm from Pakistan, basically currently working as a medical officer in the capital of Pakistan. I basically belong to Balochistan, which is one of the largest province by land, but the least represented one of Balochistan, and a medical college that was the least represented in the whole region. I've had a 2 to 3 years experience working with a lot of different international and national medical students as working volunteer forces, a 2-year experience working with the research material and all. Even though I did not have a very strong background, I was able to connect with people from across the globe only because I had social media in my hand. So that's how I would like to introduce myself here today.
Fantastic. Thank you, Zara. Faisal, you want to reintroduce yourself for the people who have joined recently?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Faisal Nawaz, and I am a resident in psychiatry based in Dubai and also a researcher as part of the Global Remote Research Scholars Program. I have a huge passion for social media and healthcare for a while now, as well as someone who works on social media research in healthcare, and have also had the chance to have many more of such conferences and talks on the topic of social media and healthcare. So really nice to be here, and welcome to those who've just joined.
Thank you, Faisal. Yours truly, Dr. Kashyap, research faculty, assistant professor, medical director for research. I'm a student of social media in healthcare as well. I've published maybe 1 or 2 papers, but I'm learning a lot through our groups and of course through our Global Remote Research Scholars Program. Under Faisal's leadership, we have a separate stream for social media related projects and publications. So I'm very excited to be here today. I am one of the panelists as well as a moderator for the session. So let me ask this question to our panelists. I'm looking at for that matter, and Zara, and then come back to Faisal, knowing that, I think among all of us, that if we combine all our followers, you may have more followers than all of us combined as well. So not that the follower part of it, tell us how were you able to create your branding on social media? If it is about Twitter, what was the initial point? What made you start there, and then how you grew that quickly for us, but in your eyes, it might be late. So if you can hear us, has left us for technical challenges. She might come back as well. Let me go back to Zara or Faisal, the same question. But what has been your, what is it a switch on off for you guys, or it was a gradual that you thought that I need to be active on social media, or this is something I can take it advantage, not fighting for religion and politics but for medical healthcare we can do it as well. So Zara, what was your switch?
My story is a little interesting. I did join for a social purpose initially on Twitter. I was not active on any other social media ever because I never understood the concept of why am I just telling everybody about everything I'm doing every day. My brain never understood that concept. So it was never easy for me to understand why is somebody posting a coffee on Instagram. So all those platforms were out, a lot of communication I was never a part of. But Twitter was something that I found very intellectual. I liked the kind of conversations that happen on Twitter. That's where I picked on, and eventually from my filter bubble, I landed onto the Med Twitter community. Now the Med Twitter community is mostly based in the United States, that's a fact. but the amount of people that interact with that community is a lot of people on Twitter. That's how I landed there. And when I did land there, I was able to understand how these things work and how impactful that was for my understanding as a medical student. I was, I think, in second year back then. From somebody who had a very local sort of an impact back then, it was because of Twitter that I started understanding I can have a global impact from, even if I am not physically in another part of the world, I can still have a good impact if I'm able to understand how these things happen. Twitter taught me that eventually, and from there onwards, I started using LinkedIn because LinkedIn was the most complicated thing to understand. And because I was able to understand LinkedIn, then I went on to Mastodon. And that was because Dr. Kashyap motivated me as well, because he was one of the people who was actively advocating for Mastodon on Twitter. So that's how my flowchart was.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing, Ome. Thanks for coming back. We're going to repeat the question for you. Adding the spotlight on you as well. It's a question for you, Ome, as you were, coming in and out. Faisal, myself, Zara, and probably everybody on this call, if we combine all our followers, they may not be more than your followers per se. So that's a great achievement in many sense. But question to you is, how did you start on social media? Was it a switch on off? Something went off that one day, you know what, I'm going to do it. Of course, it's a gradual process as well. So what was your reason and what has been your journey, if you want to talk in brief? And then I have at least Zanaira and others asking some questions to us as well. So please go ahead.
Thank you so much for the question. Talking about my journey on social media. So it did not start with me wanting to post stuff on social media. It began with me wanting to be a better writer. And ever since I was in first year of medical school, I was very intrigued by the etymology behind every anatomical term that we learn. And, I used to sit with Tabor's dictionary and make sure that I learned all the meanings. So that is how over the 5 years at medical school, I developed a habit of looking up the history behind every phenomenon. And, I love eponyms. And so when I joined Twitter, I just began posting stuff about the history of a particular phenomena, say how CPR was invented and how CPR has a weird connection with Michael Jackson. And I was also a quizzer in medical school. So I just started posting trivia because I found it interesting. And then I saw that people were also finding it interesting. So gradually, like Dr. Faisal mentioned in his talk, there's an important thing that you need to keep in mind when you're posting. That is, you have to be, number one, consistent. Number two, you need to have hashtags. The hashtag I began using was hashtag HitMed. And right now, if you search HistMed, it has become a huge hashtag where everybody is talking about the history of medicine. But back when I began, there were just like 3-4 people. So what I'm trying to come to here is, for me, it was more like a serendipitous finding initially. But once when I realized that, this is something which is giving me a brand, like Dr. Faisal Nawaz said, I realized that I have to be consistent about it. And it was also a win-win for me because I have so much of trivia stored in my head that I'm pretty sure I'm going to make a very fun academician when I start teaching in in the near future. Thank you so much. So that is what I wanted to say about my journey.
Absolutely. Thank you, man. I'm going to just go very briefly. I avoided Twitter like a plague for, let's say, 7 or 8 years. My philosophy was, I'm not a celebrity. I'm not a politician. Who cares what I have to say? Then I saw my older mentors, like they were not very old, like they were older, like 15, 20 years older than me. And they were using Twitter and other places to their advantage. They were talking about the new research ideas, new publications, latest journal coming out from NEJM, JAMA, or the Blue Journal on Critical Care Medicine. That's my core research interests are. And I realized, oh my gosh, this could be a great platform to just get the curated articles and just read through those articles and be famous in the team meetings. That was the whole reason I joined Twitter. And very quickly, as Zara has mentioned and Ume has mentioned and Faisal has alluded to, that it became that branding, that you can associate with the like-minded people, follow the Matt Twitter and other things as well. Now we have a huge presence on LinkedIn, Instagram. I started to put the nice kids pictures, or desi dads pictures, and iPhoneography or Android phonography and things like that too. But it helped me amplify in the initial part of my career, or middle part of my career, to amplify my own work. But now in last 3 or 4 years, it helped me amplify our mentees and mentees work and their celebrations, their successes, the awards, and then presentations, and then USMLE scores, and our Harvard GCSRT club accomplishment, and so on and so forth. So it became a medium for me to celebrate, especially during pandemic time. You can create all those things and have your nice celebration emojis listed there as well, because we could not meet personally. So that was my story. I'm going to highlight Faisal as well, and see if anybody has any comments or questions for the panelists, including Ume, Zara, and Faisal. Zanetta, I know that you had a question about it, so why don't you go ahead and ask that question to the panel, please.
Hi, Raul. Thank you for everything you do, and this has been awesome. I am just like you were, avoiding Twitter like the plague, not because I thought of anything. At first, I didn't think anybody wanted to hear anything that I had to say, number one. Number two, I'm eternally overwhelmed being a clinical electrophysiologist in academia and a mom and 2 kids, and I just thought it was too overwhelming. To be honest, I just started my Twitter account. Like, I just started it. Since my youngest is going to college, I assume I'll have a little bit more time. So I congratulate all the people here on doing such a fantastic job. I do know it has a lot of impact. I do know it has a lot of meaning, because people get information that way. And if we don't put good information, they'll get misinformation. So that as a comment. As a question is, when you first started, it seems like most of you guys just sort of stumble into what you really liked. So at the beginning, did everybody sort of went around like this and then finally got into what their brand was going to be? Or if you could, just sort of expand on that, that'd be great.
Zara, Ume, anybody?
I think I'm going to take this question. Thank you so much. And I totally understand what you're saying about being overwhelmed by everything. But hey, there's women in medicine Twitter for you, and there is moms in medicine Twitter for you. So it can be
that's true.
Yeah, it can be a support system or a community of that sort. So coming to your question. Yes, when we began Twitter, when I began posting on Twitter, I was all over the place. I was posting about books. I was posting about history of medicine. I was posting about TV series I watched. It is only through conscious speculation that I realized that I want my Twitter to look a particular way, and this basically comes through trial and error, and it took me quite a lot of time. So the key takeaway here is everybody has a very short attention span on social media. So you need to make sure that whatever you're posting has maximum impact in the least number of characters you can. That also has an upside. That is, even if you're all over the place in the beginning, once you understand what is the particular lane that you want to stick to, everybody forgets about everything else that you're all over the place about. So, hey, that's a good thing to have a short attention span. So experiment and, trying things out and consciously looking for ways to improve is, I think, what should be the approach to posting on Twitter. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Faisal, you want to answer Rattan's question?
Yes, for sure. I mean, I think the idea of how to effectively use hashtag, there's no formal way of learning it. And that's why people often get confused even have hashtags. So the first step is actually to take a step back and observe. And for me, there was a big part of just listening to others, reading posts, and trying to see what hashtags come up around the topics of interest that align with me. And slowly you would start seeing a theme emerging there that, oh, often people who tweet about history and medicine have a certain hashtag that goes about it. Maybe there are a few hashtags that go with it. So co-occurring hashtags are another way to think of, which ones to pick. And something that is often isn't considered enough is you don't want to make your content about the hashtags. The hashtags are just there to amplify what you're talking about. So I often sometimes see initially, because people aren't aware about how hashtags work, about 7, 10 hashtags are entered, or maybe the entire tweet is constructed based on hashtags. And that could be very difficult for people to read. So as someone, I think, Dr. Ome mentioned with a short attention span, I have about 3 seconds to give to your tweet while I'm scrolling through a competition of others out there. So if your tweet isn't going to look clear, spaced out with maybe 2 hashtags at most, or maybe a little more, I will just scroll on. So the hashtag use is supposed to be just like you're building your own recipe here, and you add in a bit of salt, you add in a bit of other dishes in. That's how I see hashtags. And there's, of course, the idea of definitely asking people around who are leading the certain topic as well. And that's where engagement comes in. So reach out to people if you're not sure about what hashtags are good. That's the idea of social media. And maybe that starts off a conversation around a topic which connects you to a bigger opportunity. So keep these conversations going. I think we keep asking and learning a lot as we go along. There's no formal way. So I hope that answers your question, Rakna.
And I just want to add to that point is that not only it's learning how to use hashtag that's one important thing. Second layer would be after that, you can actually come up with an ideas to utilize those hashtags for research publications. Looking at what has been an impact, what has been a trend over time, before and after war, before and after COVID-19, mental health issues, well-being, physicians' violence, whatever, or violence against healthcare providers, or teenager issues, whatnot, whatever it is, there are opportunities as these hashtags exist. You just have to have that analytical mindset, and then a mentor like Ume, Faisal, Zara, or anybody else who are doing research in those areas, of course, under GRSP umbrella and anywhere else for that matter, that could be utilized for academic productivity. So you're not just being consumer on social media, you are actually utilizing it for other greater purposes too. Please chime in, other panelists, for any questions. I think next one is Tamara, and then anybody can take on. I can answer any of the questions. I can attempt to answer any of the questions, but you'll do a better job. Tamara is asking, how do you separate your own personal life to your personal branding? Maybe Zara, you can comment on that first, and then Ume and Faisal as well.
Okay, there was a point that I wanted to add to what Ume Faisal had just said about the last question that we had about what do you really want to do? How do you find it out? This is the same that would relate to what Tamara has asked, that how do you separate your own personal life from a personal branding? You need not necessarily do that. You can actually mention in your bios and whatever social media you're using that these are the topics that you want to talk about. Like, for example, you are a mom and you want your followers to know that. That's absolutely fine. There is no restriction to what you're posting there, right? It's a mix and match. And with the trainings that I have had in social media, it's actually better to have a mix and match kind of a timeline instead of posting only medical stuff all the time. So it depends on you what you want, right? With my experience, the timeline that I have, the amount of things that I post, it's always a mix and match. Most of it is related to research stuff or advocacy work in healthcare and medical sciences and stuff, or the things that I've done or the community that I've been working in. But sometimes I also want to post the beautiful sky that I'm seeing, or a good coffee that I'm having, or a very nice time that I'm having. I just want to post it. So it's fine doing that. There's no particular restriction on that. And that does not spoil your brand. That will only show that you are as human as the other person looking at you. So I would always suggest somebody asking me how you draw a line. If you don't want to draw the line, please don't draw a line. It doesn't really matter. If you want to draw a line, then you make your rules for yourself. You want to post only about medical stuff on your Twitter or on your LinkedIn, then you stick to that. Then you don't post anything else at all. And there are many, many profiles like that. And you would love to interact with those people as well, because they're very precise and accurate with what they're posting. Well-researched posts on LinkedIn and Twitter, such as what Ome Faisal writes on her profile, is a lot of research material as well. There's going to be no contradictions to what she's writing there. So if you want to have that kind of a timeline, that's on you. So that's how I would like to answer that. The other question that Tamara had asked was, do you always read the comments from people, let's say in your Instagram and Twitter, and how do you cope with the bad comments? So this depends. This is a very, very, a question that will have a different answer from who you ask this to. A lot of people, they like to reply to the bad comments because they start getting more attention and they start getting more followers. So there's that perspective to it as well. However, if it was me, I usually ignore the comments if it's something bad coming to me. I don't like to interact with any negativity on my timeline, and that's a personal rule that I've set for myself. But if you don't choose to do that, again, that's on you. No worries to that. However, if you have a lot of community and connections on your Twitter that are professional, that may give a bad impression of your career in the long run if you're working with them later on or something. So that line you will have to define. But other than that, in most cases, when we're talking about the Twitter community, there is not a lot of hate speech there. The hate speech comes in all the other topics that are being talked upon on Twitter. So you will find very good people to interact with and connect with on Twitter if it's a medical related topic that you are talking about. You will have people in the comments that say very directly that I work on similar things and I want to work with you. If not on your comment, they're going to reach you in your DM. If they're not going to do that, very likely you will see somebody doing a similar thing that you do and you want to DM them. Or you may write in their comments that I'm doing something similar and maybe we could just talk on a call about it. That's how these engagements start. And from there, it eventually leads on to the bigger things and the bigger projects.
Thank you. Ume, and your thoughts of any of these two questions or both of the questions?
I think Dr. Zara has already answered the first question pretty well. There isn't anything that I would be able to add to it to add more value. But talking about the second question, do you always read the comments? So to be very honest, when I began, I used to. Now I do not. I just post and I mute it because it is not, a lot of the time, I have notifications turned on for people that I want to hear from, all these people in my field that I actually want to hear from and see the kind of research that they're doing. I get notified about their posts. And if it is any comment that is upsetting me, I will just hide the comment and move on because it's not worth your peace of mind. And looking at Twitter, so I think all of us here agree that we are on Twitter to build a community of like-minded people, and it has to be a positive space. So if there is any negativity that is sort of penetrating into that place, it is best to nip it at the bud. Block, ignore, move on. Do not spend time on it.
Well said. I think I'm those ones. Life is too short to fight on internet. I've done it in 2007 or 8, maybe just one or twice. Then I realized that nobody cares what you say. So better to ignore and move on. Nothing better than that. I have one quick comment on the branding piece of it as well. So we all have our personal opinions and things like that as well. I've always suggest my mentees and collaborators that keep the political and religious discussions away from if you're trying to build a community. The very first, the easiest way or the best way to ruin relationship and create chaos in your life to bring politics and religion, and that's it. That's a perfect way to ruin anything else. If you keep those away and then focus on that, building a community, we're building a village. It's like marrying into a different family, and then cousins, and then in-laws and things like that. Focus on positivity. Focus on the people you want to associate with. Learn and celebrate their success. That's the one thing I've realized it in social media, especially in healthcare. Today's topic is how can you build your branding? How can you start doing social media? May it be Twitter, maybe Mastodon, maybe LinkedIn, maybe Instagram, and God forbid who goes on TikTok for anything, or another thing is Snapchat or whatnot. But our goal is that we are building this community. We are finding like-minded people, we are enhancing, and we are celebrating not only our successes, mentee successes, but our collaborative successes, because they are succeeded. You getting jealous and then not giving them thumbs up is not going to change their life. So why not celebrate those success and enhance it and empower everybody in this regard? So that is something I would like you guys to take from this panel and then talk from Faisal, is that first of all, it doesn't matter where you are. Faisal has been my mentor as a medical student on social media, where I was teaching him research methodologies. So it doesn't matter where you are in your career, as far as you know what you're doing and you have established yourself, you can learn from anybody. Your branding is something you control. You can choose that I want my branding to be a kind person. I want my branding to be a researcher. I want my branding to be a cardiologist, or who knows the A to Z of cardiology, and I wanted to teach about it. Or my branding is, history of medicine. Whatever your branding is, finding it, mixing it with your personality, and then and pouring your heart out. And Ume has said that, ignore and move on, or let, if you have somebody like Ume who has 16, 17, 18,000 followers, let your followers take care of those bad comments. That's what I would do it. If I have 10,000 plus, I'll just say, you guys take care of this person, and that's all. So I think that'll be my take. Faisal, you want to add anything to this from what Zara, Ume, and I have shared to any of the questions? And we cannot hear you at all.
I think it's been
Oh, yes,
summarized in the best way possible, and it's really inspiring.
We could hear you. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. I was just saying it's been summarized very well. And these are the perspectives that come from experienced people who've been using it, who've been dealing with it live hand. If they've managed to do it, there's no reason why any one of us could not go through a positive experience as well. I've been using, maybe there's been one, not so great comment that may have happened over the years. And that's it. The rest of my 5 years have been absolutely smooth. And that's purely because I think I've had an approach of, like the others have mentioned, be kind, share success stories, celebrate others. And the same goes back. It's a great cycle of echoing each other's achievements. So sometimes that's been the start to a connection, be it with the program director or started with appreciating.
We lost you, Faisal. Maybe some. Sorry, we lost you, Faisal. Some technical delays, but I think we'll get back to you as well. Any other questions from the audience, or I can ask some questions from the panel. Please type it in or unmute yourself and speak. Let me ask this then, Ume, Zara, and Faisal, if he comes back. So let's say, those who are at the verge of, what, maybe Twitter is going up in flames, or maybe not, or any other social media platform for that matter, LinkedIn or Instagram or whatnot for that matter. Somebody who at the fence to start doing something in social media, what would be your advice to them? People have heard Faisal in the first 20 minutes. From your perspective, Ume and Zara, where they can start, how to start. That is the one thing in your own flavor. Ume with 16,000 followers.
All right, I will take this first. So for right now, Twitter is in a very dicey situation where we do not know if we'll wake up tomorrow morning and find Twitter. So Having said that, if somebody, if somebody in this Zoom meeting today just wants to get started, I would suggest that the first thing to do would be to make sure that you create profiles on not just one social networking site, but on all the not all, but at least 2, 3 others. Like, there's this shift happening from Twitter to Mastodon. LinkedIn is extremely great for networking. I found mentors there. I found Dr. Kashyap there. So, so talking about this, uh, the best approach to start would be to not put your eggs in one basket. Make sure that your eggs are distributed evenly in different baskets. Maintain consistency that Dr. Faisal talked about, consistency amongst all of this. It's going to be a little difficult, definitely, because it's not easy posting the same content on different platforms. But if you really want to, we're living in a digital age where apart from our real identity that we have from people knowing us in person, we also have a social or an internet identity, and this internet identity is important. So if you want to invest in it, I think it is worth the effort. So consistency across all the platforms. Do not engage in fights. Do not engage in political commentary. Do not engage in religious commentaries. You are an academician or a researcher or someone into medicine. Make it look like you're that person, what you are in real life. Make it look like that. So those are my 2 cents. And if you read, the good way to connect with people for all the readers out there, how I found excellent friends is I began posting about books and I began joining book clubs because I read. So that's one way to get started. And that's a very low effort, high yield sort of way also. Just putting it out there so that you do not feel overwhelmed. Thank you. Over to Zara.
Some very good points, Dr. Ume. There's one more thing only that I would like to add is that when you're starting with social media, you want to go there, start interacting with people. Don't aim for being a very big deal in a very less amount of time. That takes a lot of time for you to happen. So what you should be putting as a goal is being able to understand how those platforms work and how you can take an impact out of it for yourself. That you can do instantly. Maybe you'll just make a profile, start posting some 2, 3 good things, and you start connecting with the actual kind of community that you want to, the people, the priorities in your career that are, and you start interacting with those people. That is going to create the impact that you want from that profile. If you are aiming for being a big deal on Twitter, having a lot of followers, and wanting to maintain a constant feed, that is going to need you to have a little more extra effort putting in. So for all my social media so far, I have not decided to go big yet, even though I may have a lot of topics to talk about, because I honestly don't have the time yet. So what I do with all my social media is try to use them for good communication and networking and engagement when I think I want to. Again, like Ume Faisal said, I found Dr. Kashyap on Twitter only because I saw GRRSP as a page, and I just was scrolling down it. I just wanted to ask them, how does it work? And that was what I DM'd them about. And from there onwards, it went on to a lot of other things. So that I did even with, I think, 2,500 followers or 3,000 or something. But it does happen and it does help you. So anybody who's trying to start with social media, this is going to be my advice. Start slow, understand what you're there for, understand the community on that particular platform, and don't think that you're just going to go big in like 1 month or so. That's going to take time always.
I would like to add one more point to what Dr. Zara has said. Brilliant points, all of them. Especially this is for early career physicians like myself. If you're an early career physician and you see someone whose work you really appreciate, and we tend to have these people that we see on Twitter and we feel like, oh my God, they do great work. I would like to do work like that in the future. Reach out to them. It's like cold emailing people. Write a very polite DM, introducing yourself, explaining to them what your interests are and why you like their work. and you would love to collaborate in future if there were, if you were looking for collaborations. I landed a couple of research projects in a similar manner because I reached out to people. So all I'm trying to say is the most that people can say is no. But if they say yes, it might be the beginning of a new phase in your life. Welcome to the rest of your life. So thank you. That's it.
Shweta Sharma has a question. Shweta, go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thank you so much. I'm really enjoying the conversations here. I do have a question for Omay or Zara. My question is currently, like, if I'm talking only about myself, I'm in a job search phase in a very diagonal career path, which is pharmacovigilance, drug safety. So what my concern is, if I am getting too active on Twitter, let's say, or LinkedIn, two of the platforms I do want to use for my professional growth. I'm just hoping, or there is kind of like some hesitation that hopefully it doesn't backfire, especially when I'm looking for, a new role in my life, or, so how do I ensure, of course, with a sane mind, I would be posting, but still, how do I make sure that it all works in the positive direction and nothing goes the other way, if that makes sense?
I can try to answer it and then see. I know even the target or Zara and Ume. So one thing is, I think my advice to the mentee, especially when I give advice to residents, incoming residents, and I tell them, I see sometimes the residents get involved into some political discussions on Twitter or LinkedIn. So my advice, and because as a part of interview committee, I sat in there. We look at some of the things, especially social media and so on and so forth. So from that advice and angle, I think what all along the panelists are saying it, that we must stay away from political religious discussions or any controversies kind as well. But nobody is going to ding you for any publications, any awareness, vaccine, COVID-19, whatever you believe in, which goes with the science part, being a medical profession, will not be jeopardizing your career whatsoever. It will only help because now, as the new people who are joining new jobs, even residencies and research and pharmaco or anything else as well, you're expected to hold the flag for that company in social media. You're expected to amplify their message, expected to follow their Twitter or LinkedIn, expected to like and subscribe and do all those things. So if you go a little bit tech savvy, social media savvy, it will only add to your profile and help you shining in there, because now you already knew these tidbits of social media, how to amplify your employer's messages, your own branding as well, and in return gaining networking, which could be helpful for future jobs as well. So in a sense, so that's my pair of pennies. Ome, Zara.
Okay.
I don't know.
Thank you. I will go next. I pretty much agree with all of what Dr. Kashyap has said. And if, despite analyzing what you're going to post from all aspects, if you still feel like you should not be posting it, then don't. It's not worth the mental hassle. And it is not necessary that you have to post. So what I'm trying to get to here is you should be comfortable with the tweet or the LinkedIn post that you put out. And if there is something that is causing you even a little bit of anxiety, it's probably not worth your mental peace.
Zara.
Dr. Shweta asked also about somebody who's in a job phase or job searching phase. For that, particularly LinkedIn should be the thing that you should be more active on. Even Twitter so, but LinkedIn more so. The specific features that LinkedIn gives you to actually put in your data about what kind of jobs you're looking for. And then it is going to get back all that information into your profile. Whenever there is a job posting, it is going to send you an email as well and a notification on LinkedIn. So that's the best way of doing it. I did it and it works. It really works for you. It's only about being specific with what you're looking for. Like you're in the pharmacovigilance domain, that's specifically what you should be telling LinkedIn to search for you. And that's how also you will be able to connect with the people who are active recruiters. So you can keep following them, you can keep following their circle. And that's how a lot of that material is going to come on your timeline, and you'll frequently interact with it, you will understand the kind of opportunities that there may be, or the kind of jobs that there could be that maybe you've never thought of even before. So that would be my take on that.
Yeah. Thanks, Zara.
And
Just one thing that I do. I mean, I've been using LinkedIn like that. But my main hesitation becomes when I'm creating something. You know, when I'm trying to post something, that's when I feel that is it appropriate enough? I mean, not legitimate, or that, or is it backed up enough? I don't know how much research based it has to be, the content that I create.
I probably,
Start.
yeah. No, one thing
Go
is,
ahead, Dr.
so don't be scared of creating content in a sense. If you read a nice article in, let's say, Nature, JAMA, or a news article, which there's a new invention coming in, you putting that link and a 2 sentence of your take on that link, which is pretty neutral, is going to help you. One thing I think what Ume, Zara, Faisal, and I are saying it is that by mere following and retweeting, you're not going to create your branding. Branding comes from you creating content. Creating content means either you write a full original post, or you put a take, you write down your take on something which has been published, presented, or you observe somewhere else. That is the way. So those who are beginner, and that's where I started to, instead of creating my own content, I was able to bring interesting news with my own take for a sentence and two, with a mentoring a healthcare hashtag or things like that. I was able to bring it, and that's why my journey started 5 or 6 years ago. And that is absolutely benign, because you're bringing interesting thing. People started following you or start liking you because they, oh yeah, she's interested in this thing, I'm also interested. If I follow her or him, I may be able to get this amplified information. If what she's reading, I'll be able to read it too. So what we are doing is we are creating a content or curating a content for the people who may not have time to look at it. And that is pretty benign. I don't think so we have to afraid for it as well. And then you see some content which you thought will be liked more, you might have only few hundred or few likes. Some content you thought will be pretty benign, it just blows up, and Ume can tell you that as well. So that doesn't go, you don't have to worry about it as well. People say follow algorithms and whatnot. Your response to your content will tell you what kind of content is liked by your followers. Or when you gain more followers, it doesn't matter, you feed them whatever you need to feed them, in a sense. So it works in a way that, it kind of self-fulfilling, self-curating policy. But never be afraid to either create a content or provide a benign content with your neutral take on it.
Thank you.
Dr. Gandhi has put a comment there, and I kind of highlighted him. So Dr. Gandhi, you want to just briefly, we need to end it soon, but briefly share your, especially very important concern, being a faculty as well as in patient privacy or the organizational privacy standpoint. Go ahead, Dr. Gandhi.
Thank you. First of all, it's very informative. Thank you for organizing this. I will finish it in 1 minute. So when you work as a resident or in a hospital, you have to be very careful not to post anything which is related to the things which are happening in the hospital. For example, ERs are busy, or you did like a procedure that did not go well, and you said something indirectly with a hashtag, because sometimes patients are, you don't know, but patients are following you. And it is especially relevant in mental health. So you will have patients who will like to see what you are doing in your personal life. So when I started my residency, my program director told me that as a mental health professional, you have to practice this kind of abstinence, that you are not yes, you are a civilian, you have the same rights, but you have to have practice some abstinence. Second issue is, does social media or scrolling social media contribute to depression? Answer is, if you are just passively scrolling and looking into other people's life on Facebook or on Instagram, you are going to get depressed and isolated, and you will have that FOMO. But if you are like, okay, this is a community, I'm going to contribute, and I have this positive bent of mind, and I am going to support and congratulate and create a positive atmosphere, you will have a better, you will have replies, and that will help you stay connected. So if you are a passive scroller, the risk is you are going to get more depressed and isolated. And then number 3 is, and this is what a lot of medical students told me, because when they were medical students or when they were, it is sometimes they have posted things on the, like say posted things partying and doing drinking and have that stuff on the Instagram and Facebook, and people are scared if that information is going to remain. And same as with your political views and religious ideologies. There is a new law in EU which was passed, whereas it is right to be forgotten. So you say in 2014, I used to feel or believe in a certain way. It is not true anymore. Please take out all the content. So hopefully in United States in the next 3 or 4 years, we will have that kind of law, but it is there in some of EU countries. It is right to be forgotten. Thank you.
That's fantastic, Dr. Gandhi, that we definitely needed that perspective from you and others. We are running out of time. It has been hugely successful as people have raised question. I would like to thank our speaker, Dr. Faisal Nawaz today, the faculty from GRSP, and our panelists, Dr. Zara Arshad and Dr. Ume Faisal. Dr. Faisal may have one concluding comment as well. Go ahead, Dr. Arshad, Dr. Faisal.
Yes, so my concluding comment is thank you so much for excellent points, Dr. Gandhi. And, there is one thing that I keep seeing on Twitter over and over again. That is a lot of physicians tend to post like a journalist about what is happening in the hospital. And that might in a way be violating HIPAA guidelines. So what I'm trying to get to here is please understand that as a physician, it's a privilege to treat another person, and we should all take care of that privilege, and we should not be doing anything. Even if I post something like, I saw a patient today who had so and so condition, I may have disidentified the patient, I may have made them anonymous. But that particular patient, if they come across my tweet, they will know it is about them. And that destroys public trust. So we need to be very sure that we are not abusing the privilege that we have to look at people's life in a very intimate manner. And we need to make sure that everything that we post is posted with a lot of conscious thought and with good intention. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Just piggyback on that. Whenever you have doubt, just get it run with the risk management. Say, hey, this is interesting. I want to put this on Twitter. Is it appropriate? If they say no, don't do it. So otherwise, you may have the best intentions, but if the HR and the risk management think this was a bad idea, you can get into trouble.
Great point. Zara, your concluding remarks?
To what Dr. Gandhi added, thank you for the excellent points, Dr. Gandhi. There's this aspect that social media does start getting on your mental health after a while, and especially when you're using it subconsciously, it does start affecting you in a while. If you feel that you are in that particular situation, please take a break from it. It is not something that you can just let it go, that it's fine, everybody is using it, I have to be there. It's not like that. If it's not good for you today, please take a break. Take a 3-day break. Don't go to Twitter. It's fine. Take a 7-day break. It's fine. You don't go on Twitter for a year. It's not going to make a big deal in your career, right? If it's affecting your mental health, that is not what it should be doing. If it's not being used in the correct way, it may get on you in a very, very wrong way, and you don't need that. At any point, it is good to take a break, a short one or a long one, you decide that. But that is a very important thing to remember when you're using these platforms every day.
Well, that's very well said. Faisal and I, we don't have any comments. And then at this point, we'll stop taking any questions. Let me take a quick snapshot of the video and then end this meeting. Those who are watching it, please like and subscribe. We'll bring some of these things as well. Please do reach out to us if you have any questions, comments, and thoughts, and which has not been answered so far for you guys. So we'll try to see if we can help bring back some of these comments. Especially, I see the social media and its impact on mental well-being. I think that's a topic right there which we can bring some of the panelists back, as well as have maybe Dr. Gandhi and others be part of it. So thank you so much for being here today. Really appreciate our panelist, our speaker, Faisal Nawaz. We can see his face. Let me just take another picture again. No, your picture was taken already. You were there. And then R is the participants who ask questions and encourage our speakers. With that, please reach out to us with the questions or write them in comment section. Ume and we are going to ignore them, and Zara and Faisal will respond to them if you are writing any unwanted comments on our video.